Welcome to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome inside the KDKA TV studios. This is the Ford Extra Point. Bob Pompeani, along with Hoke Bro 76, Chris Hoke, former nose tackle, 11 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we were hoping it'd be a good day. It wasn't a good day as the Steelers lose to Seattle in their home opener, as you saw, and there were plenty of big plays in this one. But, Chris, the bottom line was you can look at the Caleb Johnson mistake, which is going to be magnified, and it should be, but again, the problems with stopping the run, the problems with getting off the field in third down situations continue for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There's no question about it. Listen, when you can't stop the running game of your opponent, it's really tough to win in this league. 2 weeks in a row, Bob, they've given up over 100 yards in rushing. Today, 26 carries for 118 yards is what Seattle Seahawks had. It's tough. I mean, last week it was 39 for 182. Over 100 yards rushing. They're getting beat at the line of scrimmage between the tackles at the second level with the linebackers. They've got to clean that up or it's going to be a long season.
And offensively, after what we saw in New York, people were excited about what Aaron Rodgers could do. He did not look like the same quarterback today, and their offense didn't look like the same offense. When you look at it, the run game, which looked crisp early, ended up with only averaging like 2.9. Jaylen Warren, 14 for 48. On the other side of it, Seattle was 4.5 yards per attempt in the run game. But beyond that, if you look at the receptions, Calvin Austin had 1. Metcalf had 3. Freiermuth 3. That was it. Minimal yardage. There wasn't a lot in the passing game today at all.
And they took DK Metcalf out of the game, right? They were double teaming him, bracketing throughout the game, and other guys just weren't getting open. He had a nice throw to Freiermuth, but we're still not seeing Aaron Rodgers stretch the field, push the ball down the field. There was one drop ball by Freiermuth. There was a penalty on that in that drive. But you've got to look at the Steelers. If they're throwing the ball in his throwing chart all around the line of scrimmage, teams are going to see that, and they're going to play tight. They've got to find a way to stretch the field, push the ball on the field, and loosen up some of these defenses, or they're not going to be able to run the ball, Bob.
Mike McDonald's clear message to his team was attack the middle of the field, both in the run game, because they went straight up the middle and they couldn't stop the run at times, including on that 3rd and goal of 20 yards. And then when you look at the middle of the field, Jackson Smith and Jigma and Cooper Kupp both had a lot of success right over the middle, and Peyton Wilson looked like he was not in the same arena at times.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the game's a little fast right now for Peyton Wilson. He was a good linebacker in college, really, really good, came here with a lot of credit, and now he's just finding, really baptism by fire. When he's going out there, they're running right at him. I saw him get knocked back, put on his back a couple of times in the run game, a couple of times in coverage. He gave up some big plays. So he's got to tighten up, and I think that'll happen as the season goes on. When you start young guys, Bob, when you play rookies, when you play second-year guys that haven't played a lot, they're essentially rookies, you're going to have to take your lumps. You're going to have to live with some of these mistakes they make, looking towards the future, knowing that through this, they'll grow and progress.
I also thought Patrick Queen got injured with his rib injury. He wasn't the same when he got back. Again, they attacked the middle of the field with a lot of success. All right, so the Steelers lose today, 31-17. They're 1-1. We have plenty of coverage coming up as you take a look at that final score. And the total yardage was heavily in favor of Seattle. We have Mike Tomlin's press conference coming up, plus player interviews and much more right here on the Ford Extra Point Show on KDKA+. Don't go away.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Welcome back as we continue right here on KDKA+. When you think about it, Chris, the Steelers really only managed 1 touchdown today offensively. They had 3 Boswell field goals. He's the early leader to be MVP of this team, I think, based on what he's done. But the 1 touchdown came only after a Nick Herbig interception set up by Cam Hayward. It was a short field, but they got the touchdown to Metcalf, a 2-point conversion. But offensively, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and Herbig took the interception down to the plus 21-yard line, really right there on the Seahawks 21. They went down and scored on that, a nice little touchdown pass. It really was a jump ball to DK Metcalf. And as you're looking at it right now, Bob, that was the only drive they scored on with a short field. Other than that, they had 3 field goals. They could not sustain drives. Today on 3rd down, they were 5 for 15, 33%. That's way below the line.
Yeah, it was Sam Darnold right off the bat. And the significant thing about Seattle, as you look at this, they scored on their first drive of the first half, and then they scored on their first drive of the second half. You see it in the 3rd quarter there, Darnold 7 yards to Barner, their tight end, but they just moved right down the field to the tune of 8 plays, 80 yards, whatever it was. They just took it right down the field and scored. And I think that set the tone for the second half and what happened in that second half. So the bottom line is they end up losing the second half. You see that outscored 24-3 after they led 14-7. But again, the Steeler offense was not very good today. As good as it was last week, especially in pay dirt situation, it went the opposite way today. And that Walker touchdown run. Again, there were some big plays, and I'll tell you one that stuck out to me as we wait for Mike Tomlin. The Steelers, obviously, that Caleb Johnson mistake, he has to learn from that. It took me back to Barry Foster when he did it back in San Francisco how many moons ago.
Yeah.
But after that, the Steelers did, get a field goal to make it 24-17. They got a stop. They got the ball back, and they were about to get the ball back again. Sam Darnold, 3rd and 9. He spun away from Patrick Queen and turned it into a 19-yard gain to Barner. And right after that, it was a 43-yarder to Smith and Jigma, and then a Walker 20-yard touchdown.
Which totally surprised me. Listen, today I saw Ramsey give up a lot of big plays, a lot of 3rd down plays on Jigma Smith early in the game, gave up that touchdown pass to Horton on that first drive of the game. And then that 43-yard pass, the game was within 1 score. He gave up that 43-yard pass all the way down to the 10-yard line. So Ramsey, he had the interception. He made some big hits today, but giving up some big plays, he's got to get back in the lab. Even though he's a veteran, he's got to improve because they're going after him. They're not giving him that respect. They're going to stay away from him. They're going right at him.
They really are, and he makes plays, but he can give them up too. And I thought today they weren't shy about going in his direction, especially slant plays across the middle of the field. And as when you look at the Steelers again, I was just a little disappointed with the fact that they did not have more in the passing game. We didn't see hardly any action from some of the big guys, and I know Metcalf was being double covered. But that's when someone else has to step up, and today not so much.
Austin III didn't have a catch today, right?
He had one catch.
One catch today.
Yeah,
Darnell Washington had that 2-point conversion. You saw Freiermuth had 2 or 3 catches, and really the reality is if they're going to take away DK Metcalf, this was the concern of all the Steeler Nation, right? What's going to happen if they take away DK Metcalf? And you saw it today. They took him away. There was another guy that stood up and could take those catches. You saw with the Seahawks today when they took away Smith and Jigba for most of the game. Who stood up? It was Cooper Kupp. We need a second receiver to stand up, whether it's Calvin Austin III, whether it's Freiermuth to get more catches. Somebody's got to rise up and take those catches when they take away your number 1 receiver.
And I'll tell you something. You saw Sam Darnold. Yeah, there were a couple of interceptions. The one was a slap by Cam Hayward on a 4th and 1. I thought they would do the tush push again because they did it successfully earlier in the game. They didn't. They went for it. Steelers made a play good for that. But I thought overall he was really good. Pinpoint in his passing across the middle of the field.
And fearless.
He was.
They went right at the Steelers' defense, threw a lot in the middle of the field where the Steelers have stayed away from generally over the last couple years. And going after our number 1 corner and Jalen Ramsey, throwing the ball on 4th down, that shows you the confidence they have in Sam Darnold and that Seattle Seahawks offense.
All right, let's get back to that play involving Caleb Johnson. Now, they spend all the time, we'll come back to that in a minute because I want to ask you about special teams and what happens in that situation. But Mike Tomlin is about to address the media. Let's go there live.
Disappointing home opener. There's a lot of things that we can do better in all phases and in coaching, and we will. I compliment those guys on a winning performance. It's still a ball game, man. There's a lot to be desired, certainly. But it's just interesting. We're in a close ball game last week, and the special teams play broke it open in our favor. This week we're in a close ball game, and the special teams play broke it open in our opponent's favor. And I just think that's life in this business at this level. I got a desire for us to be cleaner, so you can't point to singular plays as, pivotal points in the game, et cetera. And so we got a lot of work to do. And that's just to put it succinctly. Had some injuries. Loudermilk had a high ankle. Highsmith had a high ankle. Patrick Queen had a rib injury. Peyton Wilson was just heat-related fatigue. He missed a block of time. A couple other guys went in and out and were capable of returning. James Pierre kind of being one of them. But really disappointed. We'll get better. We have to. We'll begin that process tomorrow. Questions?
Mike, what happened on that kickoff that they recovered?
It's poor judgment by a young player.
That's something you specifically work on in practice?
Every day of our lives.
Mike, Seattle seemed to be going at you pretty aggressively across the middle. What happened there? What more could have been done?
Early in the game or just in general?
Yeah, in general, yeah.
They made some quality plays at different points in time. We absorbed some attrition and probably limited our communication and thus our call sheet. But that's just a part of the game. That's what you do. And so, you compliment them.
Mike, is it injuries that are catching up with the defense? What's caused it?
We were down some bodies going into the game. We absorbed some attrition in game, and many of those guys are new, and so it's a challenge. We certainly are capable of better than that, and so we'll keep working.
Mike, you had 4th and 1 or less than 1 at midfield late in the third quarter. What was your thought process of kicking it there?
It was a 14-14 game. Neither offense was lighting it up at that juncture. As I mentioned, we had absorbed some attrition on defense, and so I wanted to protect that group and keep them on a long field.
How concerned are you about the protection that Rodgers is getting right now?
I'm concerned about a lot of things. We didn't perform to the level that we desired, not only in that space, but in a lot of spaces. And so certainly there's a lot that has my attention leading into this upcoming week.
Mike, from a layman's perspective, it seems at times the offensive line didn't hold their blocking long enough, and also at times Aaron didn't get rid of the ball quick enough. So could they come to a happy medium in terms of maybe correcting that succinctly?
Certainly, two things are capable of being true.
You had 59 yards rushing before that last drive. What is needed to get this running game going?
We got to possess the ball more. Certainly, we're capable of running it better, but time of possession, our lack thereof, and our opponent's ability to has been a component of that equation or that discussion in the last 2 weeks.
Anything stand out on why the other teams seem to be having a lot of long runs against you?
No, we just got to be better, and we will be.
What did you feel was what was allowing them to be so successful in some of those big chunk plays, especially on third downs?
We didn't eliminate some known eligibles, man. I thought particularly early we didn't do enough to minimize 11 on possession downs. I thought we improved in that area, and that's why we were able to settle it down. They went down the field and scored on the first drive, but it was pretty nip and tuck after that for the remaining 2 quarters until, the game got broken open.
Can Jalen Warren handle an even heavier load?
I'm certain he can. I know that he had a good week's work. I know that he felt good going into today, and he expressed that, and so I see no reason why he can't.
Your rush defense coach, in terms of last week and this week, say 2 back-to-back 100-yard rushers up. Was there that much difference between the Jets and the team you saw today, or is that just the teams being able to just to beat?
I hadn't made any comparisons. I was just, as I sit here today, I'm, digesting what transpired in the stadium today, and we got to be better.
What do you feel like teams are doing to minimize TJ's impact, and what can you do to get him some more looks?
When they're successfully running the ball, they minimize their one-dimensional passing circumstances, and so I assume that you're asking about his ability to impact the game from a rush standpoint, and so it's obvious what it does when they're on schedule and they're running the ball effectively. You minimize your opportunity to get one-dimensional pass rushes, individually and collectively.
Anyone else? All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin, and talking about Caleb Johnson, he said poor judgment by a young player. So I have to ask about the coaching aspect. And I know Danny Smith is well respected, but those are things that you spend all that time in training camp. You have to know not to do that. So I'm assuming he was told that situation.
Danny Smith's one of the best special teams coaches in the NFL. He goes over every little detail. I've been in the room when I was in a coaching internship after I retired. Danny Smith is very detail-oriented and focused. This was something that was told to Caleb Johnson. You think back, I remember when Plaxico Burress was a rookie here. Remember when he caught that ball and threw on the ground?
Still a live ball.
Still a live ball. So rookies make mistakes because rules change from high school to college to NFL. And so he's got to learn from this. Unfortunately, it was a one-score game, and it went from a one-score game again to a 2-score game, and it made it really, really difficult.
By the way, Caleb Johnson has spoken in the locker room. We're going to have some of that coming up, and we'll hear what he had to say about it. I'm sure he took responsibility for it because as soon as the ball went over his head, he just went off the field as if, and I'm sure it's different than college, but you can't make that mistake.
It's happening so fast for these young fellas.
It does no excuse. No excuse.
But listen, because if you're on the field, you're a Steeler.
Right.
You got to be able to play. But the reality is this happens across the NFL with young players on every single team. They make these kind of mistakes, and hopefully they don't hurt you like this. Coach Tomlin pointed out that last week, the Steelers got the advantage because of a turnover on special teams on kickoff. Today, the Seahawks got that advantage with that turnover.
We'll talk more about that as we go, and I'm sure we'll get your calls coming up. Right now, let's go to TJ Watt at the podium. He's talking after the game.
Number of long runs against you guys. Part of the tackling, what's happening?
I don't know, man. We're going to have to look at it and break it down. Clearly, it's the same issues are rearing their head from last week, and in the NFL, you don't have time to go back after each and every game and make the adjustments. You need to make the adjustments before they happen, and if they happen in game, before they're allowed to continue to snowball like they did today and like they did last week. So back to the drawing board. I'm sure there's many a multitude of different reasons why this is happening, but we're way too talented. We have way too good of schemes to allow this to continue to happen week after week.
Did you come into this game thinking that you had fixed some of those issues in practice?
I was definitely confident. I think each and every week we feel confident going into the game. You never go into the game thinking negative thoughts, but clearly wasn't enough.
What was allowing them to have so much success on those chunk plays? It really felt like on third down they picked up a lot of big yardage.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't able to pressure the quarterback as much as we'd like. There was a good amount of max protection. We just need to be able to get home and help the guys in the back end to reduce those big plays. Even third down and long, some of those were runs too. We need to do a better job of stopping those plays so they're not allowed to have those 4th and 1s and then be able to be much easier to convert.
Do you feel teams are maybe now, these last two teams are going at you through the middle, make it hard to avoid you?
I don't know. I mean, I'll let you guys speculate all that stuff. I'm just trying to help as much as I possibly can, any way that I possibly can.
TJ, does it affect the mood and psyche of the defense sometimes that you have the offense and they're going down, but they're kicking field goals and they're not? I mean, I'm not saying it has to, but does that sometimes have maybe a negative effect on the psyche of the defense?
Not at all. We're just trying to control what we can control. We have enough problems on our hands to be worrying about the offense.
Going back to Baltimore, we know the struggles in the playoff game with the run game, and then these 2 first weeks of the year. Is that the transition, the emphasis on stopping the run? It doesn't seem that it's happening. You talked about it, but is there anything from last year to this year that you thought you guys had fixed, or at least you thought you might have guys set,
I mean, there's always an emphasis on the run. The first note of every single week is smash the run, and you guys have heard me say for 9 years we're always trying to smash the run, and it's not a lack of trying. Schematically, effort, I don't know, we'll have to look at the film, but we need to be better, and we need to look in the mirror. We need to turn over every stone that we possibly can, because this can't continue to happen. Otherwise, you're just going to continue to see what we saw today, not really able to pin your ears back. Teams aren't able to get to one-dimensional situations. You have to wait until a 2-minute drill potentially to be able to get after the quarterback like we do. Yeah, it's not fun football right now. We need to get back to doing what we do best, and that's stopping the run first and foremost to create those longer down and distances.
When that's number one priority, stuffing the run, how deflating is it then when you don't do it?
Very deflating. I mean, we're sitting here talking about it the whole press conference.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, TJ.
Yeah, that's TJ Watt talking about, we're talking about it all this press conference because it's gone on for the last, carrying back to last year, like 6 games where they haven't been able to stop the run at all. And one of the things, Chris, when you go out and bring in Jalen Ramsey, when you bring in Darius Slay, when you bring in big guys, you expect them to have an impact immediately. And while every piece here and there, they've done it, but at the same time, it's not been consistent for veterans. You would expect that to be better right off the bat. And 2 games into it, it's gotten worse. Let's go to Aaron Rodgers now, who's talking at the podium.
Good coverage, guys, and played a lot of 2-show, and we just couldn't run it effectively enough to kind of get them out of it. On tape, there had been a lot of pressure, a lot of different personnel groups. Now with Spoon being out, they played less different groupings, less pressure, much less pressure, and more too high.
What wasn't working for you guys on third down? I believe you were 5 of 15 on the day.
I mean, everything. I wasn't on target. We weren't getting open effectively enough, and they were getting some good pass rush.
Yeah, there were times in the game you looked like you were pretty spirited out there, maybe a little bit disappointed with stuff that was happening, whether it was with yourself or on. Is this starting to get a little frustrating? I mean, you're getting.
No, it's week 2. Come on now.
I know, that's
Come
what
on.
I'm asking.
Come on. It's week 2. I mean, like it's good for us. Last week, probably there were some people who were feeling pretty good because everybody outside the building is talking about how great we were on offense and 34 points. That's the league. You can't ride the highs or ride the lows. You gotta refocus every single week and be a professional. And it starts with the practice and the preparation. And so we just get a chance to reset, take a look at what we did last week, what worked, what didn't work from the preparation standpoint, do better next week.
Sometimes when you in the red zone and you get to a certain point and you end up with a field goal, is it harder to motivate, especially some of the younger players, when you get over to the sidelines and just tell them to keep on pushing?
No, not at all. No, I mean, I look at myself first, and if we have a field goal, I probably wasn't effective enough in the situation. But, I feel like we had a good, good couple drive. Defense was playing good in the first half, and we just came out and just couldn't do a whole lot in the third quarter. And then obviously the play that took a lot of points off the board was the interception there on the 3-yard line or whatever.
Aaron, what were you looking for on that interception? What happened?
Pat, Fryermuth. Adam McCall is the best kid ever, but he probably should have just stayed in the flat there. He knows it. or he was kind of stealing it from Pat, or just catch it, put it away, score a touchdown. But Cal's the best kid, and it sucks because he's such a great kid. But unfortunately, that whole sequence, took points off the board.
Aaron, the offense was not effective enough on first down.
Yeah.
So what do you need to do to really get that turned around? Because that's so important, being effective on first down.
Yeah, we got to run a little better. I got to be more effective throwing the football, and we got to do our job. I think if you go back and watch the film, which we will tonight and tomorrow, we were close on a lot of plays, and it's probably one person. Sometimes it was me, sometimes it's somebody up front, sometimes it's perimeter. But we just got to own our mistakes and be very accountable to each other, and take this kick in the chin the right way, be a professional about it, and come to work this week and move on and get ready for New England.
I just want to ask you about the performance that Jaylen Warren had. A couple of monster plays, obviously, for you. It looked like a number one running back in the NFL.
What do you mean?
Well, he's been a partner here mostly. Hasn't really been a feature back before.
Yeah, Jalen's a great player, man. He's a great player. That was an awesome catch and run. He brings a lot to the table. Might have to keep giving him more opportunities in the pass game, because every time he touches, something good happens.
Aaron, what's the concern level of the amount of hits you're taking? Was today, like you alluded to, more about coverage than it was protection?
I have to look at the film. I'm not trying to take a lot of shots. I felt like I was moving a little bit better today. But, we got to protect it up. I get the ball out. We got to get open on time. So sometimes the coverage dictates holding on to the ball a little bit longer. But it's on all of us. I got to get rid of the ball. We got to get open. And we got to hang on up front.
Anyone else?
Aaron, you guys were able to hit on a lot of crossing routes last weekend to different players. What do you feel like disrupted you guys from that aspect of your offense this week?
I don't know if we called a lot of crossing routes, but they played a lot of zone coverage too high, so that's good against a lot of that stuff.
What would be your advice to Caleb Johnson after his misplay on special teams?
Caleb's a great kid, and this is a what have you done for me lately league, and when you have success early on, you have to learn how to handle success, and when you deal with adversity, you have to learn how to deal with adversity the right way, and you can't let this get your confidence down. You can't hang your head. This is a professional league, and we expect greatness, but we also understand there's going to be mistakes, and they happen. We're human, and you got to move on and get better. But he's a great kid, and I know he'll come to work on Monday and Tuesday and keep his mind sharp. He's always asking me, hey, what I got to do better, and I tell him things and he works on it. So hate to see it, but this is a professional football, and we got to get him to raise the standard of his game without losing that confidence, and understand that he can't ride the wave. There's going to be great games, there's going to be disappointing games. They're going to love you when you're riding high. They're going to try and crush you when you get beat. So can't let it crush your spirits. Keep your confidence.
Two more.
On the touchdown drive and the 2-point conversion, you guys threw 2 combat balls to DK and Darnell, and they won them. How can you guys maximize more of that in the red zone to be more consistent in finishing when you guys have that kind of size of advantage?
And it's been 2 weeks. Last week we were 100% in the red zone. So this week we weren't. So I think we need to take it easy. It's a small sample size. That was 2 nice plays on 50-50 balls by 2 big guys. And we had a chance, I think probably a touchdown to Pat that makes it 21-14 and changes the whole scope of the game. So we got to understand this is the league and things happen, and, you know, we're not trying to crush anybody on our team. We just, what happened, you know, disappointing for KJ. We love KJ. You know, Cal's trying to make a play. We love Cal. We just got to be 100% with our assignment, and in order to win some of these games. Comes down to one or two plays. Could be in the first quarter, could be in the fourth quarter.
Last one, anyone? All right,
Thanks.
Aaron Rodgers is very interesting to listen to, too. You can tell he's been around for a long time. He keeps things in perspective, and he's absolutely right. Last week, 3 for 3 in the red zone. This week, not so good in the red zone. You know, you're going to have days like this. You're going to have days like last week. The problem is, again, it comes down to consistency in not only the run game on your offense, but stopping the run, and that has not changed over the past 6 games dating back to last year.
There's no question. He's a professional, right? He goes in there and says, I got to play better, right? He says, I've got to improve, and he's very complimentary of Caleb Johnson, of Calvin Austin III, 2 guys that made big mistakes in this game, right? One that led to an interception when Calvin Austin tipped the ball, and then Caleb Johnson, one that led to a touchdown on a kickoff. Very complimentary of them, took the onus on him that he's got to be better. They've got to improve, but I love the way he handled that. He's very thoughtful, Bob, on how he answers questions. He doesn't just say things to say things. But the reality comes down to this. The Steelers have to be able to run the football. I mean, last week, Bob, they ran the ball 20 times for 53 yards, 2.8 average. Today, 21 times for 72 yards, 3.4 average. That's below the line. If they want to be the type of football team to be able to throw the ball down the field and be able to run play action, they have to have success running the football, and they're not there right now. They got to average over 4 yards a carry, I believe, for play action to be successful for them.
And the other thing is winning first down. Last week, the Jets were 8.1 yards on first down. The Steelers 3.7. This week, if you added up the numbers, it's going to come up to over 6 per yard on first down for Seattle. When they have down and distance in their favor, it makes a big difference to how you play defense. We have more, including an interview with Caleb Johnson coming up and other interviews, as well as your calls a little later in this broadcast following the Seahawks win today to spoil the home opener for the Steelers. 31-17, your final score. Steelers fall to 1-1, getting set for a trip to New England. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
We're back. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you. Let's take a look around the NFL. Some interesting developments today. Of course, Pittsburgh loses to Seattle, but if you look around the AFC North, Baltimore rebounded big time as they beat the Browns, and the Browns are off to a predictable 0-2 start. Ravens were upset about what happened last week. They blew a game in Buffalo. They win 41-17. Patriots, the Steelers' next opponent, went on the road at Miami, a close game, 33-27. Bengals lost Joe Burrow, but they beat the Jags 31-27 to get to 2-0. But the big news there is what's the injury to Burrow. And then the Giants and Cowboys were tied, but in this game, Russell Wilson, 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. It's the first such stat line for the Giants quarterback in 40 years. So hold off Jackson Dart. He may not get his chance, but we'll see how that game finishes out. In the meantime, we're talking about Caleb Johnson, and after the game, he came in and stood up to the cameras and answered questions about what happened on that play that really turned the game around.
About this, and I guess with me for the team, I just got to just go in there every day now and just work my hardest now, even more. My chip on my shoulder.
Were you just not sure of the role?
If I wasn't sure, if I was sure, it doesn't matter. I still got to do what I got to do, and I still got to go in there and execute the way it needs to be executed.
How tough is this for you personally?
I just got to stick to it and move on. That's part of football and a part of life.
What did the coaches say to you when you came over?
I'm just move. Got to move on with it.
How do you do that? How do you flush this out and move on to the next game?
Just don't think about it and just keep on moving. We got a long season.
All right, that's Caleb Johnson trying to move forward, and obviously it's going to be a learning tool for him. It should be at least, but even instinctively, again, I know it's different from college to the pros, Chris. We talk about that, but instinctively, if that ball goes over you, you just got to chase it. You got to, and I'm not so sure. They recovered that in the back of the end zone. It's a touchdown, but I also thought the guy might have been out of bounds when he had it. I'm not sure.
I don't know if he had possession before he rolled out of bounds.
It's a difficult.
I don't know why they didn't challenge that.
You're exactly right. Or if it's a scoring play, then it should be reviewed anyway,
And
right?
I was saying to you, we were watching the game together, I wasn't exactly sure that the ball hit his helmet. It didn't look from the angle that they showed us on TV that it was clearly hitting the helmet. The ball kept going nose over nose. So a lot there that could have happened. I'm not trying to bring up something that we got to argue about, but the reality was a lot of questions there that I believe that should have been challenged.
But when you have a ball in the landing zone, this new kickoff thing, the dynamic kickoff, when it lands in the landing zone, you have to get it no matter what. And he should have known that, and you could just chase it down.
Those are tough to field. I mean, those when they're
I'm talking about after that, he should have gone backwards. He went straight to the sideline as if the play was over.
He should have gone back. He'll never do that again, right? A lot of guys, this happens to guys, they make mistakes at different positions. This one was just so glaring because it led to a touchdown and really went from a one-score game to a two-score game again. It's just a tough thing all the way around, and unfortunately happened to a great guy in Caleb Johnson. You saw him being very stand-up, answering those questions, but these mistakes can't show up week after week. They've got to clean them up and move on.
Last week, it was Kenneth Gainwell who had more touches than Jaylen Warren. This week, that changed because Jaylen Warren had it going. The numbers won't necessarily indicate that in a rushing game. I thought he still is very energetic when he gets to the line, but he had a wonderful 65-yard catch and run from Aaron Rodgers. He spoke after the game.
What is your advice to Caleb, or what do you kind of say to him after a rough thing like that happens?
Saying that we say a lot here, travel light. Don't let the last play affect the next play. Whatever happens, your best play is your next play. So I know he's going to be good. We all got him, and, nothing to panic about.
Is that easier said than done in your experience?
Like I said, if you can take it from anybody, take it from me. I've made a lot of mistakes, and, it's the counterpunch. It's how you come back from things that's going to matter.
Did it seem like he maybe just didn't understand the role at the time, or what did you take up from that?
Him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, probably. I know if he knew to down it, he would have downed it. But he just, there's probably just some gray area in there. Not knowing.
Is that some older rule? Because there's college rules, and then they changed the NFL kickoff rules.
That probably.
I mean, how much in special teams you guys, when the rules get changed, you have a meeting about that, or you go over those steps?
Yeah, Danny does a great job at informing us whenever something like that does happen. You in the game, you in the stadium, sometimes you may forget things it's easy to do that.
Did you think you were going to score on that long catch and run?
I was trying to. Yeah.
How much momentum was that? You get the big long catch, catch and run, first and goal, and then the interception in the end zone.
It's football. It happens. Yeah.
All right, there you look at Warren's day. 14 carries, 48 yards. He got off to a much better start than that. I thought they should have maybe kept feeding him the ball a little bit more. 4 catches, 86, 65 on that one catch and run. So that's 21. But you can't have this. He was their leading pass receiver today. They have a bunch of guys over there like Metcalf and like Jonnu Smith and like Pat Freiermuth and Calvin Austin and even though Roman Wilson got his first catch today, he should be. Those guys should be the guys who put up the numbers. And today it was Jaylen Warren, and you heard Aaron Rodgers say afterwards, maybe we should start giving him more of the ball, in the passing game.
They've got to push the ball down the field more. They've got to loosen up defenses. Defenses are not going to let the Steelers run the football, and so they're going to let Aaron Rodgers just dink and dump. You can't win games throwing the ball at the line of scrimmage or 5-6 yards down. You've got to push the ball. And I believe right now, you and I talked about this, Bob, during the game. I don't know if they have the confidence right now for Aaron Rodgers to sit back there and the rush not get to him, and enough time for those receivers to get down the field to throw the deep ball. So they've got some work to do in the passing game and in the running game.
Did you ever hurdle anyone?
You know what? I hurdled someone, but I fell on my head after that. Took me out.
Well, at least you got up.
That's incredible. He jumped before he even went for the tackle, like he knew what he was doing. I thought that was super athletic.
Very athletic. All right, again, we're talking about Caleb Johnson, and one guy who I'm sure had a chat with him is the captain of the special teams. That would be Miles Killebrew. Let's hear from him after the game.
He's going to be hard on himself, right? And we just have to make sure that everyone knows that as a unit, we got each other's backs. And we believe in him. He's a great player. And I was just sharing with him that there's parts of our game that all of us wish we could have back today because we didn't get it done collectively. And so we're going to go back. We're going to watch the film. We're going to see what we can do to be the difference. I'm talking special teams. Be the difference in the next game in a positive aspect.
That's the thing is you take pride, obviously, in special teams. You guys last week made the case, won the game.
That's right.
With the special teams.
Isn't that something? Special teams are important. Go figure. We have to get it done. We have to be better, and we have the unit here to get it done. And so we're going to go back and watch the film with Danny tomorrow, and we're going to see what we need to do to beat the team the next week. Seahawks got it done today.
Yeah, it's funny how it goes. It's only 2 games. I'm going to go back to what Aaron Rodgers said. It's really a small sample size. However, again, I'll keep coming back to the fact that the same problems continue to exist dating back to last year, and that's something they really need to clean up, because next week, New England, which came off that win today in Miami, they're going to be high on that, and Drake May is a pretty good quarterback. So they're going to look at this film and look at the middle of the field, and I think that's a key part of next week. They got to do better in that department. Also, they need to get T.J. Watt more involved. I realize that if you're running the ball well against the Steelers, it kind of neutralizes what the edge rushers can do, but he has no sacks in his last 6 games dating back to last year.
Yeah, listen, here's the reality. They've got to get players to elevate their game. When you talk about the run game, in the middle of that defense, you talk about the nose tackle, the defensive end, I believe Cam Hayward's holding his point, playing there, but he's getting double-teamed. You got to have a nose tackle, Keanu Benton. You got to have Loudermilk, who's hurt right now with high ankle sprain, but Yaya Black, and you have Logan Lee, and you have Ukwale. I mean, these guys got to rise up and hold the point. They're getting knocked off the ball at times. Bob, you and I talked about that first drive of the second half. They were getting blown off the ball 5, 6, 7 yards, and they were put in the linebackers' laps. The linebackers, I haven't seen a linebacker get pancaked more in my life. I mean, these guys got to stand up and take on blocks and shed blocks. Right now, you're seeing guys getting put on their back, knocked off the ball to the rate that I've never seen a Pittsburgh Steelers team happen. They've got to get in there and play with lower pad level, great technique, and hold the point so people can flow to the ball and make plays. You saw what happened with Patrick Queen when he was able to flow the ball without a lineman getting on him. He had several tackles for a loss in this game. It's when linemen get up on him or those linemen get pushed in his lap where they have a tough time making plays.
And Queen made one of those plays you thought when he had Darnold dead to rights and he spun away from him and turned a 3rd and 9 into a first down gain of 19 yards. We're going to take a break, come back with more reaction from a Steelers loss today on opening day. 31-17 your final score. Coming up a little later, we'll take your phone calls on a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, all yet ahead right here on KDKA+.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. We take a look now at the AFC North standings. The Bengals, despite an injury to Joe Burrow, we need to get more information. I'm not sure if they made it available, but he really was in either a boot or a scooter after the game, so he suffered a leg injury of some sort. But they're 2-0 barely. And they are 1-0 in the division. The Ravens and the Steelers now both 1-1, and the Browns are where the Browns normally fall, and that's last place.
Listen, the Bengals, they lost Joe Burrow, but they barely squeaked by with wins at home today against the Panthers. Jacksonville,
yeah.
Against Jacksonville, which was a good team, right? They look much better than I anticipated they would be. But last week playing against the Browns, they barely squeaked by the Browns, who the Ravens destroyed today. So let's see. I think the Ravens will continue to rise. They had a tough week 1 loss to the Bills. The Steelers got to get things right because, again, they don't stop the run, Bob. If they can't convert on 3rd downs in the league, they're not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, and the Ravens, man, the way that's going to hurt them down the road is that could be a tiebreaker for the first seed, the way things are going. Buffalo would have it, even though the Ravens, with 4:48 left in their game last week, had a 99.1% probability of winning that game, and they lost that game. Real quick, I want to get into Steelers offense before we go to our next interview, and that would be, I thought with Devon Witherspoon out of this game, that they would really take more of a, and we saw it last week, they passed more than they ran. I know they want to run the ball, but also with that guy not there, I would have taken some shots down. We didn't see many shots down the field, did we, today?
No, we didn't see a lot of shots down the field, and I believe because, again, I think they're concerned about being able to protect Aaron Rodgers so he can throw the ball down the field. Take some time in the pocket. He's getting the ball out of his hands really, really quick right now. One of the quickest in the NFL last week in week 1. I want to see what we have after all the games are played this week, how he's doing. But I think another thing, too, Bob, is you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at this offense, and he said, hey, whoa, it's week 2. We had a great week last week. We had a down week this week. We're still growing. He is not concerned. He is not being he's not overwhelmed by this. He's going to get back in the lab. He believes that they still have an opportunity to grow and progress and become a good offense.
All right. The tackles today, we haven't talked much about them, but I think you're right. They're trying to get those guys protected and maybe don't take shots down the field because it would expose them. Troy Fautanu got beat on a play. He also committed a holding. And let's hear what he had to say after the game.
How difficult is this one, especially after the way the offense performed last week?
Obviously frustrating. Individually, as a collective, just losing the game. Obviously, you don't want that to happen, but we just got to play better, man, all around. Personally, I got to do better, do my job at a higher level. So,
what are you most frustrated about out there for you?
It just took me too long to settle in. Pass pro, too much pressure. Yeah.
It just seemed like that you guys couldn't finish drives. I mean, there's a little. What do you think the problem was?
Whether it's someone losing their one-on-one or, I mean, obviously we just weren't executing. I got to go watch the film. But, yeah.
After Warren had the real long catch and run, it looked like you guys were in pretty good shape there. I know that drive a couple snaps later culminated in an interception, but was that sort of the high point of frustration for the offense to get a big pop play like that and not pay it off?
I would say so. I mean, Jalen made a crazy play running down the field, and we didn't do him any justice finishing that drive, so obviously it's frustrating. But we just got to get back in the lab and continue to work. That's all we can do. So.
You guys need to give Aaron some more time.
100%. Frustrating personally, just as a group, but obviously we don't want any of that to happen. But we can sit here and hope and wish away, but we got to do a better job.
And to your point, Chris, last week he got the ball off Aaron Rodgers in 2.1 seconds. Yeah. That was reminiscent of Ben's last season when he got rid of just a quick, at some point you need to lengthen these plays and have deeper drops, and that requires offensive linemen to do a really good job.
He doesn't look scared to be hit, though. Aaron Rodgers, to me, you've seen quarterbacks at the end of their career where they just don't want to get hit and they just throw the ball. He stands in there, he'll take a hit. And so that to me doesn't concern me. But you look at his offensive line right now. I mean, Father Tonio, I don't think he's a big problem. He gave up that pressure, which spilled out Aaron Rodgers too early, and he got a holding penalty. Last week he gave up a pressure or QB hit. But other than that, he doesn't really stand out to me. To me, when an offensive lineman is struggling, it's when they continue to stand out, when they continue to give up pressure after pressure, sack after sack. And this is, like Coach Tomlin says, like popcorn to me, right? It's one play here, one play there, one play here. They had, 33 passes today, 32 passes, and Rodgers got hit 8 times. That's too much. I mean, you're getting hit 25% of the time when you drop back. They've got to lower that. That's got to be 3 or 4 hits on the quarterback or less for a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. That's why they're hesitant to drop back and throw the deep ball, because of 25% of the time he's getting hit.
And, of course, we talked about this team coming in, and I fully expected Seattle to play a good defensive game because Byron Murphy was the #1 pick they had last year. They have other guys like Leonard Williams, who they traded with the Jets, and he was like a 6th overall pick, right? And other guys who can make plays, and they do come after you, and they did that last week against San Francisco. So DK Metcalf, this was his first game as a Steeler at home. He was expecting to have a big day. A lot of people wanted to see him get in the end zone. He did for 1 touchdown, but only 3 catches against his former team. Let's hear what he had to say after the game.
Any others?
No, I just hate losing, period. Don't matter who it's to, a Pee Wee team or the Seahawks. I just hate losing.
You guys not being able to finish drives, can you put a finger on what the inconsistencies right now?
Yeah, we just need to be better with the details of the offense and knowing, what the play is trying to accomplish and who we are, ideaing up front, and everybody has to just be on the same page in that area.
Things looked to be moving in the right direction last week. What was the difference between what you guys were able to do against the Jets last week and now this week?
Just attention to detail, especially in the run game, and then, when we get an opportunity on 3rd down, we got to execute.
What were your emotions like that outside today?
It was just good to see, a lot of my old teammates, but like I said, man, I just hate losing.
Anything else?
All right, DK's day. Here it is. 3 catches, just 20 yards. He got the touchdown, not very many yards per catch. But I also think you have to consider he was being double teamed. And this is where, we've talked about the need for a number 2 and somebody to complement him. Calvin Austin answered that bell last week, and I still think he's going to be a good player for them. But they need more contributions from other guys. If this is going to be the way it is, and other teams are going to do the same sort of treatment here to DK Metcalf, and he had a couple of drops today as well.
Yeah, he had 2 drops today. He had a drop or 2 last week, so he's got to eliminate the drops because those are plays when he's on the run, too, I believe, and he could take those, and he's really good at yards after catch.
We saw that last week.
We did see that last week, but you're talking about a second guy. I don't know if the Steelers are as concerned about a second receiver because they believe they have good tight ends, right? Aaron Rodgers says the best tight end room he's ever been around because they're so deep. And so these guys have got to catch the balls, and Aaron Rodgers has to have time to throw the ball down the field. And they're still an evolving offense. You saw last week that they could put up yardage and scores. This week they got shut down. And so the Steelers just got to continue to improve and continue to grow as a team.
Yeah, and the problem that you have early on, you're going to get some injuries along the way. Every team goes through them, and the Steelers had some more injuries today that took guys out of this game, including Alex Highsmith. Now, he had come into this, I thought, nursing a little bit of an ankle. That got worse today. He has a high ankle sprain. Also, Isaiah Loudermilk, a high ankle sprain. And normally, what are those, 3-week injuries or something like that?
I would say 3-4 weeks, yeah.
And then Patrick Queen went into the tent. He had a rib injury, came back, and you could tell he was still being bothered by that rib injury. And this on top of the guys who already were missing time, like Deshaun Elliott, as well as Joey Porter Jr., who did not play today. You hope that you get the number 1 pick, Derek Harmon, back next week. He was trending in that position, so that would be a welcome addition.
There's no question. That's why on your 53-man roster, it's so important that you develop the 51st, 52nd, 53rd guy, because you're only as good as everybody as collectively on your team. And so you're going to have guys that go down. They have a lot of injuries right now they're going to be nursing. But guys at the bottom half, the bottom third of that roster have to rise up and step up, or the Steelers are going to struggle. So a lot of these guys are going to be at the complex tomorrow. They're going to be putting extra time in on Tuesday, getting ready for Wednesday preparation, because guys got to elevate their game and guys got to play different roles. They got to be able to step into roles and still play at the standard that the Steelers have set throughout the years.
Coming up shortly, we're going to open up the phone lines and hear from you, your take on week 2 of the NFL season specific to the Steelers. But coming up next, you're going to hear from Cam Hayward, who made a big play today. Also Peyton Wilson, who did not have such a good day today at the office against Seattle in the middle of the field. We'll get into that and more as we continue right here live, KDKA Plus.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at the leading tacklers. And this could be somewhat deceiving at times because, obviously tackles mean something, but when they come into the second layer and beyond, it doesn't mean as much. And Peyton Wilson did have those tackles, but as Chris has said, he was being, really taken on in the middle of the field, not being pushed back in plays. Chuck Clark had 8 of those. Thornhill was 7. Jack Sawyer got into this game because of the injury to Highsmith. And Jalen Ramsey had 6, although I thought Patrick Queen had some really good tackles behind the line of scrimmage. I think he got credited for only 1.
Yeah, I felt like you and I were talking about this, 3 or 4 tackles for a loss in this game, and he would have been much better throughout the game, but he had that rib injury and he came back and he struggled. Where he can improve on is engaging and shedding blocks. And Peyton Wilson, I believe that he has a bright future here in Pittsburgh, but there's some of these growing pains. He's got to, just be able to field blocks a little bit better, get off blocks some more. He's a big guy. He's not a small guy. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. He can engage and get off blocks. It's just technique, learning on that. The game needs to slow down for him. But today, several plays. He had a sack, too, that we didn't talk about in there, and he had a nice pressure. So he's making plays. So as a coach, when you see a player like him make plays, you're saying, okay, those are things that we can build on, but he's got to eliminate the mistakes. He's got to eliminate at times getting knocked back and put on his back.
And speaking of Peyton Wilson, he did speak after the game. Let's hear from him in the locker room.
A part for us towards the end there, but sounds kind of cheesy. Just get back in the lab, fix the mistakes, and continue to push forward.
How frustrating is it to have 2 weeks like that where you do fall apart at the end here?
Yeah, it's frustrating. We have some of the most talented guys to ever play their positions in here, and for it to happen to them, for me to miss an assignment, and some of these guys, they're the best in the world. You don't want that to happen. I think it's just frustrating. But like I said, it's football. You just got to get back in there and get better and continue to push forward.
How concerning is it the number of long runs you guys have given up in games, especially on third downs?
It is concerning. But the long run in the NFL is just one guy out of his gap by 6 inches here, 6 inches there. So we just have to continue to, communicate, know our assignments, be in our gaps, not try to make every single play on the field, but just, down football.
Darnold was having a lot of success over the middle of the field. What was kind of the breakdown there? What was he exploiting there in the middle?
They were running a lot of play action, and you know how we are here. We like to get after the quarterback. So, everybody was just, as soon as we saw play action, we were flying downhill, trying to get a sack. They just had some good schematics today sometimes. We just gotta bulk up and make the plays sometimes.
Peyton, I know you talked about the long runs, but is it even more concerning when you look at the stat sheet and give up many corners total yards as a defense?
Yeah, it is. You never want to give that much up, obviously, especially the amount of work that we put in, the time that we put into it. It's obviously frustrating, but it's just a matter of, just getting better, continuing to push forward each week. We just got to continue to build and sustain the whole game, not a good drive here, a few bad drives, a good drive here. We have to sustain the whole game.
That's Peyton Wilson after the game, and this is a problem, again, going back to last week, big, long runs. We saw Breece Hall do it. We saw Braylon Allen do it. Today we saw Kenneth Walker do it, especially late in the game, and they had a 3rd and goal from the 19 or 20-yard line. You expected them to run to set up a field goal. They did run it, and the Steelers gave up all that yardage and a touchdown, which really put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and what happens is this. When a long run happens, it's because they're giving hats, players, offensive players, on defensive linemen and linebackers, and so they're able to get to the 3rd level very quickly. And you saw that several times today against the Seahawks. You saw it last week against the Jets, where linemen and linebackers were being blocked. And that's what Coach Tomlin's talking about guys being physical and getting off and making plays. I mean, it's concerning to me when you look at the leading tacklers. Yeah, Peyton Wilson was your number 1 tackler, but after that, you had 3 DBs. That means the ball's getting to the 3rd level very, very quickly. And they ran the ball a lot today. And then you had Jack Sawyer, who got a lot of playing time once Alex Highsmith went down. But that concerns me. You need to have your inside linebackers and D linemen making a lot of your tackles. That shows that you're really getting after it in the run game.
All right, Cam Hayward made a big play at the time. He deflected a pass on a 4th and 1 situation out of Darnold's hands into the hands of Nick Herbig, who returned it 41 yards, set up their only touchdown of this game. Let's hear from 97 after the game.
First half feels like ages ago. Just little things. We had to be more aware on the zombie routes. They were wide open in the first half on that first drive. In the second half, I don't think we just capitalized on, whether it was 3rd and long or advantageous situations for our defense. To end the first half, I thought we, got turnovers, were able to help out our offense. But a lot of teach tape of what not to do, and got to be better because of it.
Cam, it seems like you guys are getting a lot of no gains and 1 yards and -1, but then they'll rattle off 9 yards here, 12 yards there, stuff like that. How come it seems like it's all or nothing sometimes?
It's about being consistent. I would like to rewatch the tape and see where it's all coming from, but our defense is predicated on everybody just doing their job, playing and play out. We got to learn from this. We got guys that are going to get more snaps because of injuries, but it doesn't change. Sometimes we can get into a situation where we feel like we have to change everything. Sometimes it just comes down to buckling down, just doing your assignment, and that's all you hear me preach from here on out.
Cam, what's the frustration level with this defense back-to-back games of giving up at least 30 points?
A lot of ball to be played. I'm not gonna, ride the roller coaster. Obviously, I would like to play better. I would like our defense to play better, but I'm not frustrated. I'm just worrying about getting better.
Any concerns with some injuries, Alex and Isaiah, a couple others too? Some people banged up here early.
Yeah, it's funny. We scratch our heads about the bye week, and we're like, damn, we might need that bye week pretty soon. But not having Alex out there, you got a 3-headed monster with him, Nick and TJ, but it's going to give reps to a guy like Jack Sawyer. He made some big plays, but hopefully we get some of our other guys back on the defensive line soon, and I worry less about how many people we're going to have and more about us just doing our job. And just being more sound in our assignment.
Cam, the issues you guys are having.
One of the things the Steelers really didn't do today is make Sam Darnold feel uncomfortable in the pocket. I mean, he's very good at that. He's developed, I think, last year in Minnesota. You saw what he could do when the system's right for him, and he took advantage of that. And he got a $100 million contract from Seattle, but he's poised in there. He doesn't panic. And I think they needed to get to him a little bit more, and they didn't really. The defensive line now was banged up. Loudermilk out. You don't have your number 1 pick. They had to use Logan Lee. Equale was in there. A lot of people that really you shouldn't count on at those critical times.
I was impressed at how much they believe in Sam Darnold. I mean, they were given the ball, throw the ball, 4th down, and at midfield. I mean, he did that a couple times today throwing the ball. And the reality is this, Bob, they've got to get after the quarterback with whoever's in there. They did get after the quarterback more this week than last week. But with a guy like Sam Darnold, who can't scramble, you got to bring the heat. And today, what concerned me was they can't get pressure with 4 guys right now. Usually a hallmark of the Steelers defense is you can rush 4 guys and drop a 7, and you can get pressure with TJ Watt, with Alex Highsmith, with Nick Herbig, Cam Hayward. That's not happening right now. The pressure a lot of times came from blitzing linebackers, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson. They've got to find a way to get pressure, get after the quarterback, beating one-on-one blocks with the 4 guys up front.
Well, we talked about Nick Herbig. He made a big play after Cam Hayward sweated that ball in the air. Never thinking it was going to be picked off, but it was, and he turned it up 41 yards deep into Seattle territory, led to a touchdown. Let's hear from Herbig after the game.
I was fortunate enough to come down with the ball.
Nick, I know you went out on the field last week, but still as a defense, how frustrating is it back-to-back weeks giving up at least 30 points?
I mean, it is what it is. We got to get back to the drawing board and play football the way we know how to play football, play Steeler defense.
How tough is it as a pass rusher when you're not stopping them in the running game and you're not getting them in any or many third and long kind of situations?
I mean, like I said, I think it just all comes back to playing Steeler football, playing the defense we know how to play. We need to get back to that.
As a defense, how deflating is it to give up those third and longs, those third down conversions?
Yeah, we got to get better at that as a unit, from the front all the way to the back. So we'll figure it out tomorrow.
How do you get back to play Steelers? Do you have an answer?
I wish I did, man. We'll figure it out tomorrow.
For a lot of this game, it's a tight, low-scoring game. You guys had 10 points off of turnovers. It's the kind of game we've seen you guys win a lot in this building. Where do you feel like was the difference in this one for you not be able to close it out?
I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you. We just, like I said, we got to play Steeler football, man. And that's all it comes down to.
What was the mood on the sideline among the defense between drives?
I feel like we had great energy. We were up the whole time. And unfortunately, sometimes, it's a professional football game. Hats off to Seattle. They had a good game plan, and they're the better team today.
After the muff kickoff, what was kind of the vibe after that? Kind of big momentum swinging play?
We just knew that we had to go out there for PAT. Offense is going to get back on the field, hopefully put some points on the board, and, we can keep this a close game.
All right, that's Nick Herbig. Let's talk about the linebacker situation, because Highsmith, you would presume with a high ankle sprain, is not going to be available next week when they go to New England. Sawyer got some time today, so he actually looked good. And went in there, got a sack, I believe, and he's going to get those opportunities now. But beyond that, they have injuries at critical positions. Those are the attack positions of the Pittsburgh Steelers come from the edge, and they need as many of them as possible.
It was good to see Sawyer get in there and make some plays, right? A couple tackles for a loss in this game, 4 or 5 tackles, and he's a guy that they're really high on. He just needs reps. He needs to get out there. He's big, strong, really by the size of TJ Watt, probably not as athletic, but he's tenacious and he's physical and he loves the game of football. So I see him, Jack Sawyer, getting more and more reps. Nick Herbig in there as he gets healthier and healthier. But I see those two rotating on that side. They got 3 to play 2 positions. So they've got to be able to stay healthy, because TJ Watt, he's not going to play every single down. He's going to come off when he's tired, and those 2 young bucks got to be ready to play.
All right, speaking of ready to play, the Steelers are going to have to be ready next week, because they go to New England, a team that a lot of people think could be a surprise team in the AFC. They won today in Miami, so let's take a look at our Ford road ahead, and it begins with a trip to Foxborough next week, and that's a 1 o'clock game. New England, 1-1. The Vikings, that's in Dublin, Ireland. That'll be on September 28th, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then a bye week. You heard Cam Hayward talk about it. You don't like to have it that early, but maybe they're going to need it that early. And then you have the Browns. And say what you want about them, but it's never easy, it seems.
Never easy.
No matter if it's here or
tough,
there.
Right? And they haven't won a game yet, but they played both games tough. Today the Ravens got after them, but they played them strong early in this game. And to me right now, at Patriots, in Ireland, playing against the Vikings, those aren't gimme games, Bob. I mean, those are 2 tough games. The Vikings won a big one last week. We'll see how they do tonight. But the reality is that the Steelers can't take any week for granted. Yes, it's early. Like Aaron Rodgers said, well, it's week 2. We have a lot of growth still to go. And so these Steelers got to continue to get better and take their lumps and learn from them. Because if you talk about this elite defense and a historic defense, the reality is they got a lot of young players playing right now in the middle of the defensive line and at that inside linebacker spot that have to grow quickly. And that Coach Mitchell always say, they got to grow up fast.
Grow up fast. That's the name of the game in the NFL. And Caleb Johnson got a lesson in that right off the bat today, one of the key turning points of this game. We'll talk more about that and the entire game coming up as we bring you a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. That'll do it for the Ford Extra Point Show. Thanks for joining us. If you want to call us, do it now at 412-575-2600. We'll get those on. Look forward to hearing from you next right here on KDKA+.